Hi, I'm Michelle and welcome to my channel. Picture this, you finally get to retirement, you take a deep breath and you think, okay, I did it. And then a little truth shows up that nobody really talks about. If you're retiring solo, the freedom is incredible, but it can also feel strangely quiet. Not sad quiet necessarily, just unfamiliar. Because when you live alone and you're not reporting to a job and you're not coordinating everyone else's needs, the whole structure of life changes. And if you don't build something new on purpose, your days can start to feel like one long stretch of in-between. So let's start with your home, because your home becomes your main character in retirement. When you're working, you're out of the house all day. When you're raising kids, your house is like a busy train station. But in solo retirement, your home is where you live your real life, day after day, and it needs to match how you actually live now, not how you used to live, and not how you thought you would live. A lot of us are still living inside a layout that belonged to an old version of us. Maybe you have a formal dining room that never gets used because you're not hosting the way you did when the kids were home or the way you pictured you might. And that room is just sitting there like a museum of someday. But what if that space could become something that supports your everyday life? What if you turned it into a cozy reading room or a little art space? You get to set your house up for comfort without explaining yourself to anybody. If you like your chair in a certain spot because you can see the TV better, put it there. If there's a corner that gets beautiful sunlight in the afternoon and it makes you feel more alive, claim that corner. If you like your lamp on that side and your blanket folded that way and your little table right there, do it. You're not decorating for company anymore. You're designing peace. Keep what you use within reach. If things you actually use every day are stored on a shelf that requires a ladder and a pep talk, that's not organization, that's a future injury. Put the everyday things where you can grab them easily. Make your home easier to live in, because independence and retirement isn't just about finances. It's also about making daily life simple and safe. Retirement is supposed to be the era where your mind gets lighter, not heavier. And if you're living alone, you don't have a built-in backup person to remember every little thing. So whenever you can remove mental clutter, do it. Automate bills, automate prescription refills. If you can, set up delivery for the essentials you don't want to keep running out for. This isn't about being lazy, it's about being wise. Because the more little tasks that you don't have to keep juggling, the more energy you have for the good parts of life, the parts that you actually want to be spending your time on. And honestly, automation gives you a quiet sense of security. It reduces the low-grade anxiety that sneaks in when you live alone, like, did I pay that bill? Oh no, I forgot to refill that medication, or I'm out of that thing that I need and now I have to deal with it today. When you automate what you can, you build a smoother life. You're basically making your future self's day easier. Now, one of the biggest surprises in solo retirement is the schedule situation. When you're retired and you live alone, there really isn't a schedule unless you create one. And there's no job to show up to. There's no one relying on you in the same way. And at first that feels like heaven, and then sometimes it doesn't. That's why I love the idea of rituals instead of a rigid routine. A rigid routine can feel like you just created a job for yourself. But rituals are softer. There's something that you look forward to. They give your day shape. Maybe you have a coffee ritual in the morning where you sit in the same spot in your cozy chair and you actually give yourself 5 minutes to wake up slowly. No rushing, no guilt. It could be the morning coffee routine, or maybe you take a lunchtime walk. Not a power walk, not a I have to get my steps in, Just a walk that gets you out there in the world for a little while. Or maybe you create an afternoon tea ritual with a sweet treat, and you treat it like a moment, not like a mindless snack while you scroll. It's amazing how much these little rituals can anchor you. They create a gentle structure, and they remind your brain that the day has chapters. And when you're living solo, that matters, because otherwise the days can blur together. And that's when loneliness and boredom sneak in. In solo retirement, the time between the big things is not the filler. It's not the waiting room, and it's not until my family dinner or until the night out with friends. It's your actual life. It's where the actual substance of your days are. So if you treat those hours like they don't count, you're going to feel like you're constantly waiting. But if you do decide they count, if you do decide they are worthy, everything shifts. You can make an ordinary day feel rich. You can make every afternoon feels like it belongs to someone who loves her own life. Light a candle just because. Play music while you cook. Like you're not just making something quick, but you're actually living in your home. Watch a good movie and make it an event instead of background noise. Make your bed feel like a hotel bed. Buy the good hand soap. Sit down and eat off a real plate, even if it is just you. Romanticize your life, not in a fake way, but in my life deserves attention way. You can't always wait for someone else to do things with you. If you only travel when you have a companion, you might never go. And if you only try new restaurants when someone else joins you, you might miss years of fun and great food. Solo retirement is an invitation to become your own companion. And that you might start small. It might start with going to a museum alone, or taking yourself to lunch, or walking through a bookstore without trying to make it a productive errand. And eventually, yes, maybe you take the solo trip. Because when you stop waiting for the perfect set of circumstances, your world opens up. You start collecting experiences that make you feel more alive, more interesting, and more you. Now, all of this works only if you have boundaries. And I don't mean harsh boundaries. I mean loving, clear boundaries that protect your peace. Because when you're retired and you live alone, your peace is one of your greatest assets. It's what makes this chapter beautiful. And it's also something you have to guard a little bit more intentionally, because people will assume you're available. They'll assume your time is wide open, and they'll assume you'll say yes because what else are they doing? And this is where you get to become the kind of woman who listens to her own feelings and believes them. If you don't like going out after dark, you don't need to force yourself into evening plans just because that's what other people prefer. You can say, I'd love to see you, but I'm more of a lunch or afternoon coffee person, and then stick to it, not with an apology, just clarity. If there are activities you don't enjoy, you don't have to keep doing them out of habit or politeness or fear of disappointing someone. If there are people you don't want to spend time with, you don't have to keep making commitments that leave you drained and resentful. You are allowed to be selective, and you are allowed to protect your energy. In fact, that's one of the gifts of this season. You finally get to stop performing. Your feelings are data. If something consistently doesn't feel good, it's not because you're too sensitive or too picky. It's because your nervous system is telling you something. And in solo retirement, listening to that is not selfish. It's smart. It's how you build a life that actually fits you. So if I could wrap this whole idea up, it's this. Surviving solo retirement isn't about filling your calendar so you don't have to feel the quiet. It's about making the quiet feel like peace. It's about creating a home that supports the way you live now. It's about letting automation handle the mental clutter. And it's about building rituals that gently anchor your days. It's about treating your ordinary time like it matters, because it does. And it's also about setting boundaries that protect your joy, energy, and your safety. If you're in this season right now, you're not behind if it feels like an adjustment. This is a brand new life structure. Of course, it takes a minute to learn it, but the beautiful part is you get to design it. You get to make it yours. And if this is something you're navigating to, tell me in the comments. What part of solo retirement has surprised you the most? I'd love to hear what you're learning in this chapter, because none of us are meant to figure this out alone, even if we're living solo. Thank you for watching.